Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident of Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kaylee. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Kaylee discusses life as an expat in Lido with Kelly. They also discuss the challenges and triumphs of relocating, establishing a restaurant, and adapting to a new culture.
Hey, expats and travelers alike. Welcome back to Expats Everywhere Presents Let's Move to Portugal podcast. Kaylee, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well too. I am looking forward to having this little chat with you over the next 5 to 10 minutes as we catch you, listener, up on what's happening in the world of expats everywhere. If you're new here, we like to start out with the introduction from Victoria to kind of set up what's going to happen in this episode. But then we do this part, which is called the weekly welcome, where we chat to you about what's going on in the world of expats everywhere before sliding into today's interview with Kelly.
Yes, with Kelly. I did the interview, obviously, and it's a really good one, really exciting stuff. But yeah, so what's going on? I guess Josh is really looking forward to talking to me because he's been gone all day already. So it's like, hey, this is our first time we're really talking for the day. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, my hair is particularly white from the window.
Is that what it is? The window?
Well, it's actually
it
getting white
yeah.
And it's longer, so it looks a bit crazy.
Yeah. You have a haircut scheduled, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I had a really nice neighborhood walk around Porto and up into Matosinhos. It was nice. Weather is stunning.
It's great right now in Porto.
So glad the rain is gone for now.
For now, yeah. Don't jinx it. So, listener, if you don't know what Josh is talking about, I'm sure you know that I do consultations. Those are normally done remotely online, but Josh does neighborhood walking tours around Porto, not for tourism, of course, but for like actually getting into the neighborhoods and seeing if you would like to live there. So if you're interested in that, you can email me. I always coordinate them because the timing and everything. But that's something else that we offer. I mean, we don't really.
It's not the core of what we do. We don't really
throw it out there. It actually just started because of demand. People started saying, like, asking us, like, do you know someone who does this? And I was like, oh, well, we know the neighborhoods really well. We can do that. Yeah. So if you need that, we just do it around Porto, though.
Look, if you're wanting to get into homes and like tour neighborhoods like that and see it from a real estate perspective, then we know someone that can do that. We know some realtors that can get you in, get you connected like that. But in terms of like just kind of poking around a neighborhood and being like, and this is where the bank is, and this is where the grocery store is, and like these are the cafes that people hang out in, and this place is more local. This place is a little mix with locals and foreigners and yeah.
Josh is your guy.
I've got my pulse on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest. Enough about that. Let's chat about what's happening content wise. So we just put out a video that bombed. It wasn't about Portugal though. It was about
maybe that's
Singapore.
Why. Singapore. We love Singapore. We've done stuff on the channel before about Singapore, but that's done better. But for some reason, this one wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Maybe because people are upset that we missed Singapore.
Maybe. I don't know. I might end up pulling the video and just putting it on Expats Everywhere Explores. I think that might be the more appropriate platform for it.
Yeah. Expats Everywhere Explores. Because we do so much about, I mean, mainly the main channel right now is Portugal and Spain, a lot about Spain or Europe. So when you get to
Portugal and Spain,
right, it's not as common. So if you haven't seen the video, go to either Expats Everywhere or Expats Everywhere Explorers. It's there. But really just the things we miss about Singapore.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is news to Kaylee because I haven't mentioned it to her, but I'm going to just do it live while we're on air, is I think that I want to unhide the real estate development channel, Let's Get Building with Josh and Kaylee. And I still won't be able to post any content there because we're in this weird, protracted, like quasi legal battle over something that we'll explain on the channel. But
once it's done.
But I just want to like get the channel back up and start updating on there the things that I can update. So it'll probably be like on the community tab, pictures and maybe a little write-up of like what's happening during the week or during the month. I think I might be able to do that.
But keep the current, like the videos that are on there, keep them or hide those and it just be like an update. I think
they might have to be unlisted.
Yeah, this might be a question for our lawyer.
Yeah.
But yeah, unless
we're in a very silly situation caused by neighbors. Here's the thing, though, because we haven't posted any videos, so you don't really know where we're at in the process. We have, and if you don't know anything of what I'm talking about, we bought a property back in 2023 in Porto. We got the licenses for it, although it was already licensed. It had a PIP, what it's called. So it's a pre-approval for works. But then we got like the actual licenses on our construction plans, our architectural plans. And then we got to work and demo was going and then like the building was going and we had to pull the channel because one of the neighbors was not being nice. So the situation we're in now is, I mean, I can be updating people on what's going on with the project because the main building that has 5 units, like 5 apartments, is going and it's going well. Like it's moving forward. It's not delayed.
Right now. Yeah.
Everything is good. So that's good. Like in terms of, Portugal and building, construction, whatever you call it, that's working for us.
Yeah. I would say this. I think we've always said and been really honest about how we feel about how Portuguese people are so nice and they're really nice in the north.
Yes.
And I still do believe that, but not everyone is nice.
No.
And we are coming across some not nice Portuguese.
And that's just
that's
it.
Right. It's been 4 years and then finally we've come across them.
Yeah. And that's just it. There is an ugly side to people, right? Like Portuguese people as a society or a community and like just throwing a kind of a blanket statement at Portuguese, nice.
Yeah.
Like good people. These people, however, happen to be Portuguese and they're not nice.
And what's interesting is we were just speaking with a Portuguese friend about the situation. He asked how the project was going and everything because he feels like, we explained what was happening and he feels like he's going to have something similar with a project that's across from his house that he owns when he gets building on that he's going to have something. And he's Portuguese and he's like, I know this older Portuguese man is going to do stuff like this. And then he was telling stories of like, let me just tell real quick. Like when he was a long time ago in Porto used to not be like, the nicest or the safest or anything. And there were a lot of bars down Ribeira, which is Ribeira looked very different than it does now. And he was talking about how there would be bars there and he'd be with his friends and the residents that were above, even when it wasn't super late or they just didn't like the noise. So they would like throw water on them or sometimes throw other things on them, which is crazy. But I just think, overall Portuguese people are nice, but there is an ugly side to them as well.
Yeah. So what I was going to say about what João was telling us to give a little more detail. So he has his property in Gaia, which is across the river, the Douro River from Porto. And then he bought the lot next to him. So he has his lot and then the next lot. But the next lot after that is this neighbor. And he's like, I've been here since 2021.
Just a few years. Soon after us, yeah.
And he's like, I don't even know the guy. He's like, I've not met him. But from what I've heard from the other neighbors, like he's the hermit of the hood, the curmudgeon and the curmudgeon. And he's like, and he's a problem. So he's like, I'm worried because I think he's going to cause me problems. Yeah. So maybe João, maybe.
Yeah. So he was like, that could be a thing. Anyway, so I guess
that's what's going on with Let's Get Building with Josh and Kaylee. So I want to at least open up the channel so people can find it and see why we're not posting stuff on there and update what I can, maybe through still images and text. And then I'm going to keep filming. I've been doing that. We've got 12 episodes. We only have 6 released, five released, I think. So we've got content coming for that. And I'm excited to get that out when I get the green light.
Yeah. Okay. Well, enough about that.
Yes.
That's kind of the updates going on right now. Let's chat about me talking with Kelly.
I don't think that we're ready for that. I think that news broke about the election that happened here in Portugal. Can you fill us in?
That is true. Yeah. Okay. So yesterday there was yet again another election. It's about 3 in 3 years or so.
They call it a snap election a reason.
Yeah. So keep having snap elections.
That was a bad snap, by the way.
Okay. Well,
I'm not going to do it again.
Okay. I was going to pause in case you were.
No. My hands are sweaty.
So from what I read, and I just briefly read, the center right has gained majority of the votes, but they have not gained majority of parliament,
But
not majority seats.
It's the party that's been in power.
Yes.
Anyways,
They were in party last year. Yeah. The current prime minister Montenegro is from that party.
yes.
And an article that I read said that it was the center left who was pushing for these snap elections because they feel like there's corruption going on. So they pushed for that, and it did not go off, I guess, the way they thought, because they actually lost a lot of seats. I think it said they lost 20 seats.
Yeah.
So they lost some of the seats in parliament. I think the center right kept mainly the same. Maybe, or they gained some, but they did not gain majority.
Yes.
Center left lost a decent amount, and then Shega, which is further right, has gained enough to where they're practically even with the center left.
It's crazy.
And I can't remember what is center right is AD.
Yeah.
Center left.
Alliance Democratica or something. I'll have to look it up.
Center left is PSD.
Yeah.
Because you see the signs and stuff around, but generally when you read about them, I think they'll just call them like center right, center left, or Shega. But Shega is further right.
Yeah. Some people call them far right. I don't think that they would be like far right by U.S. standards.
No, I don't think so either. Anyway, so they have gained in popularity a lot in the last 5-6 years. I think I read something that said in 2019 they only had like 5 seats in parliament. Now they are practically tied for the second most. So
yeah. So AD is Alianza Democrática. Mm-hmm. Which is a block, I guess, of like a couple parties that merge together, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what's the name of the center left?
I think that's PS.
PS, okay. Because for the longest time too, the past few years, we've seen like, PSD.
Partido Socialista.
Okay, PS.
Socialista.
Anyway, so that is new news going on here, that we've had 3 elections in 3 years for the prime minister. But it looks as if it's going to remain the center right in majority. And then, the big thing is that the center left lost seats and Shega gained seats. So that's the news now. I did read something that said it was actually really good news for Golden Visa, because the center right is pretty pro-investment. So there is that.
They would be. Yeah, I think so.
So it's good news for Golden Visa holders, or if you're potentially thinking about Golden Visa, that would be a good time.
I think the sentiment was more like there's stabilization in that the program will continue, at least in its current form, for a little longer.
Yeah.
There's obviously complications with the ruling that happened in Malta. Which hopefully we're going to get news on, make a video about, and then get that out to you all, because that could have an impact just Europe-wide on golden visas and the legality of being able to offer golden visas and second citizenships and all that stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah.
People are taking shots at golden visas like they're the issue. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like there's mass migration from golden visa. I don't know.
I don't think statistically
you can definitely argue that, like, should you be able to sell a passport or be able to sell nationality? I get that, but I don't know. I guess there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah. Anyway,
so Kelly.
Yeah. So that's the news going on in Portugal. But yes, Kelly. This was a really interesting interview because of where she ended up. What city? I mean, so she's in Portugal, but why she ended up in that city. How it wasn't actually where she was going to go, but circumstances led her there. And the circumstance would be she opened a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, Kaylee finished the podcast episode and was like, "We're going to have Mexican."
It's not actually near us.
It's not near us.
I won't throw out where it is. You have to listen. But it's not near us, but it's definitely worth a trip to go down for Mexican. It sounds amazing. So we talked about really just what life was like where she is, why she moved there, how the restaurant's going. Hurdles, I guess, as well, and trying to find like ingredients or just trying to adapt there, what the expat scene is like. It was a really good interview. Chat about what life is like.
Yeah. And we have a listener, Tamara, and if you're listening, I know you're a huge Mexican food fan. We're going to send you there on a mission to test it out and give us a 1 through 5 rating so we can figure out just how good is Kelly's Mexican restaurant.
It's like one of those spy ones,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
What was that?
The Secret Shoppers, Mystery Shoppers.
No,
yeah,
I was thinking it was like, when
Undercover
like Bar
Bosses?
Rescue. No, like Bar Rescue. You know how he sends someone in before like he rescues the bar. Not that this needs rescuing. It sounds like it's going really well.
I think
actually
it's more like a Mystery Shopper.
Mystery Shopper.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tamara.
You're up.
Okay, but let's chat with Kelly.
All right, let's do it.
All right, but before we do that, let's talk about this week's sponsor, Green Ocean Global Advisors.
Yes, we always recommend, no matter where you are in the moving process, to get your finances in order. So that's in your home country and then the country that you're moving to.
And speaking about homes, what if you sell your house before leaving or do it after? What are the capital gains implications like? Well, a financial advisor will be able to walk you through this type of thing.
And what about distributions? Maybe you have a 401k or a pension and you need to figure out how much you should be drawing from for the lifestyle that you're going to have.
Now, you can use this link in the description section below to talk to John from Green Ocean Global Advisors to see if he's a fit for you. You'll have a free 15-minute consultation just for being an Expats Everywhere listener. So you can use that to get your free 15 minutes. Click the link in the description section below. Now, on to the show.
Kelly, thanks so much for joining us today on the podcast. I'm really excited to hear about your story because you actually haven't been in Portugal very long, but you came on a scouting trip. You started a business, so there's a lot to unpack here. So why don't you tell our listener a little bit of why you moved to Portugal and what that process was like for you?
Sure. So we actually started looking into moving to Portugal several years ago. So it's probably been about 4 years now. We have family that lives in the northern part of the country in Viana do Castelo, and we would come visit them once a year, and we really liked it, and it got harder to leave every time. So we started kind of planning around what we needed to do to apply for visas and get everything set up so that we could come. And we had our VFS appointment, which is, the appointment that you have to go to do the whole visa process. We had that in November, and then we got our approvals in January, and we ended up here on February 20th. And then shortly after that, so our business opened on April 17th.
Yes. Okay. We're going to talk about that because it's an interesting one. But first, do you have Portuguese roots, you or your partner, or are your family here expats as well? Or what kind of connection is there?
No, they are actually expats as well. So when we would come visit them, it was interesting because when they moved here, we had never really heard of Portugal. It was kind of, several years ago, it was kind of one of those places that you would hear about and people would talk about how beautiful it was, but not a lot of people were moving there like at that point in time. And they moved during COVID. And when they got here, they were just like, oh, it's so beautiful. You have to come visit. So once we were able to, we did, and we absolutely fell in love with it. And we would have opportunities to go other places to visit on vacation, but we would always end up back in Portugal.
Okay. All right. So it was about 4 years though, until you finally decided we're going to make this leap. What took so long?
I was actually really hesitant to leave the job that I was working in because I really liked it a lot. And we were able to meet the visa requirements through some passive income and property and stuff that we had. So it was mainly just me kind of waiting because I really enjoyed what I was doing and I was just hesitant to give it up. So once we decided that, okay, we're going to make the leap, then we definitely made the leap. And I talked to my job and yeah, we just went for it.
Okay. So it wasn't a job that could translate like you could work over in Portugal.
No, I was actually doing social work in the United States. So it was kind of a really one-to-one hands-on type position.
All right. And then where in the States did you move from?
So we moved here from upstate South Carolina. We were actually living like on the border, working in North and South Carolina at the time. So yeah.
Okay, great. So family's in Viana do Castelo, but you didn't end up there, did you?
No, we didn't. So when we came on our final scouting trip, we had planned to see a lot more of the things like towards the central and southern part of the country. We had some flight mishaps and lots of delays, so we didn't get to stay as long as we wanted to kind of see everything. And then we happened to see a business that was for sale in Lido. And we went to see it and we were like, oh, this town is really cute. We really like it. It's not quite as cold as the north, but it's not quite as warm as being really far south. It was close to the beach, so it had a lot of amenities that we wanted. And the city is not a big city, but it's not a small city. So it has pretty much everything that we would need. And we didn't need a car. So that was one of the factors too that I really liked, was that there were lots of things within walking distance or well connected by bus, and we didn't need a car to access them.
So essentially the business is what brought you there.
Yes.
But were you actively looking for something like this, or kind of just fell in your lap and you're like, let's go for it?
So I'm one of those people that is always doing things. I can't really sit still. And so even though we had the passive income and all of that, I really wanted to be doing something and like actively making something. So I actually did culinary and college for social work too. I did them both.
Okay.
So
interesting, because they're kind of different.
They're very different. Yes. Yeah. So it's actually really interesting. We joke about how many social workers come from a culinary background. I don't know what it is about the two things. I guess it's the feeding people aspect. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, so I knew I wanted to do something. And I really thought, well, let's try to do a restaurant with like a cuisine that's not super popular or well known, and let's just see what happens. So that's kind of how that came about. And when we were looking at apartments, that's kind of how we just by happenstance ended up finding the space for the restaurant. So we reached out to an immigration attorney just to make sure that it was okay on the type of visa that we had, that, it wasn't going to cause any issues, and it didn't. So then the next part was really just kind of jumping in and going to finanzas and like getting all the paperwork together. So
yeah, and we'll talk about that in a second, because I'm sure that was not easy. Bureaucracy and always here not easy. But was it a restaurant before? Did you say it was a restaurant before? The space was?
Yes, it was a restaurant before. Yes.
Was it a Portuguese restaurant?
It was actually an Italian restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the person that had it decided to move back to Italy to be with family. So.
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
So we got
all right. Well, let's do the unveil. Tell our listener what kind of restaurant you decided to open.
Yes. So the name of our restaurant is Pico de Gallo, and it is a Mexican restaurant in the middle of central Portugal.
Yeah. Okay, and it's very new, obviously, but how's it going so far?
It's been going really well. So my partner's family is Mexican, and I lived in Latin America for a while. So I already had a familiarity with the cuisine and the food and all of that. And we just wanted to open kind of like what you would see back in the United States when you go into your Mexican restaurant, something that would be familiar to folks in the area, and something that would be completely new to people that are from here. And so far it's been working really well. We've had people, that have driven up from as far away as Lisbon, which is almost 2 hours from here. And so we've got to meet all kinds of people doing it, from Canada, from the United States, from South Africa. And then, of course, all of the Portuguese residents in town, too. We've gotten to meet several Portuguese families as well.
That's great. So it's being well received by the Portuguese in town?
It depends. The fun part of it is when they get their introduction into like the spiciness of it, because it's a little bit of a different spice than some of the other cuisines and, the way that they do spice. And so some of them are very hesitant and some of them just jump right in, which is really a lot of fun. We just had some people come in last night, and we do the Too Good To Go app where Yeah, to keep from wasting food. And so we had a father and his daughter come in because they had never tried it before. They had no idea what Mexican food was about, and so they figured that would be the best way to try it. And they were so delightful, like just watching them get all excited about everything and what it was. And yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Do you want to go ahead and explain the Too Good To Go app? Because I love this app.
Yeah, sure. I didn't know about this app until about a week ago, and it is the coolest thing. So, the Too Good To Go app combats food waste, and what they do is at the end of the night, when restaurants typically would have leftovers, in order to keep them from throwing the leftovers away, you can put together a surprise bag, or restaurants will put together a surprise bag of stuff. So the person, they basically claim the bag early in the day. They have no idea what's going to be in it. And then all of the things that you have an abundance of, you can put in the bag, and it's like €4 or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually really amazing because it's cheap. You obviously are combating food waste, which is great. But then for us, we've tried stuff that I never would have ordered myself, or I didn't even know what it was, especially if you do like a Portuguese place and you're just like, I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to try it. So I like that about it, as well as you try new things, different things.
Yes, exactly. And it's, it is very budget friendly in a really good way to try out things, just like the people that we had last night. So, and a lot of the restaurants in the area are on it. And the food is really nice. Like you get a lot with that little bit. A friend of mine had ordered a box of pastries off of it, and it was huge, and it was filled to the brim. So
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, so the thing is, though, is before you moved, you actually had the space, the restaurant. So even though you've only been in Portugal for a few months and the restaurant's only been open a few months, everything was already set in motion last year, right?
Yes. So we did all of this in late August, early September of 2024. And we wanted to do that so that when we got here, we could just kind of hit the ground running and do what we needed to do and get get the admin stuff out of the way and a lot of that, so that we didn't have to worry about it so much when we were here.
Okay, and this was on your scouting trip around this time when you
Yes.
found the place, and then you said, okay, let's move forward. So you went ahead and did all the bureaucracy stuff. What kind of things did you need to do bureaucratically to acquire the restaurant?
Oh my goodness.
You can give us the short version if you want.
Yes. So there was a lot of back and forth with Finanzas and the Câmara Municipal because of the licensing. Portugal likes to be very thorough in that it wants to see what the space was since the beginning of time.
Oh my gosh.
When the space was created, what was it? What was it used for? When was it built? That sort of a thing. And there was a lot of going back and forth between us and the Câmara Municipal, because we would find something and they would go, oh no, that's not back far enough. We need to go to the archives now, and then go back into the archives. And my Portuguese it's not the best and it's not the worst. So I was like missing some of the things that I wasn't quite understanding. And then it was difficult, but it was not impossible.
Yeah. Now, did you hire a lawyer to help you with this?
No, we actually did this ourselves. Now,
okay.
I will say this is something really cool that we found out. And a lot of towns have these, but I think they're called something different in each place. But here in Lido, we have something called a silish, and it is a really neat, it's an organization where people can join, and they will basically tell you step by step, okay, this is what you need to do. Here's this checklist. We'll check in with you and go over it. By the time the checklist is completed, then you'll have everything you legally need to open. So that was super helpful because, it told us all the licensing we needed, where we needed to go to get it, what pest control companies they work with and we can call. And one of the cool things about this organization is that there's a lot of partners in the area, other restaurants and things like that. And they give you a little card, and then you can get discounts and all of that stuff, and the other participating like partnerships with it. So so that made everything really, I don't want to say easy, but it made it much, much easier than it could have been, and saved us a lot of money because we didn't need to, other than making sure with the attorney that it was okay to move forward with our business the way that we wanted to. It really saved us a lot as far as like having to work with attorneys to do it.
Did you have to be pay to be part of this organization, or is it like a nonprofit, or what is it?
Yes, you do pay to be part of the organization, but it's really cheap. I want to say it's like maybe $25 a quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's really low and absolutely worth it.
Okay. And is it other businesses that are helping you with these checklists, or it's actually like workers and people who help with the checklists?
Yeah, so it's actual people that help with the checklist that work there. And you kind of get to know the person that you're working with really well, because I think they take on certain cases. And every time I've seen the same person, and we kind of joke and laugh about the bureaucracy aspect of it. And so it's been really nice. And she also is very patient with my Portuguese.
Okay,
So
I was
that
going to
makes it
ask
even
that.
better.
You had to do it all in Portuguese though, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she speaks English. I do try to use the Portuguese as much as possible. I'm a fluent Spanish speaker, though, and so sometimes my wires get crossed in my brain and it comes out in Spanish, even though I don't intend it to.
Yeah, that's tricky with a lot of friends who are Spanish speakers as well. Like there's pros and cons here, right? Because there are similarities, especially when reading, but like pronunciation and communication is quite different. So, and some of the key verbs as well are different. So it's like
Absolutely.
good, but also bad in a sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, when was your VFS appointment then?
Our VFS appointment was on November the 8th.
Okay. And you went to DC for that in person?
We didn't, because we actually could not get into the DC office. They did not have any appointments available. But because there is such a backlog, DC now works with the Houston VFS and the Miami VFS. So we were able to, we'd actually, interestingly enough, we had just had a hurricane when this happened. And I will never forget, I was laying on my bed in the dark, just like rescanning for VFS appointments.
Oh gosh.
I found one in October for November. So.
And where did you go? Did you go to Miami?
No, we ended up going to Houston.
Houston, yeah. I've heard that there are a lot more openings there. So that's great, listener. If you are in the DC jurisdiction, just know that now you have other offices. Unfortunately, if you're in the San Francisco one, it's just that one. So people from Alaska, for example, have to go to California. But the good thing is you were in South Carolina and you had the option of DC, Houston, Miami, and even New Orleans has one as well now too. So, but I hear that it's a little easier to get Houston and Miami than it is DC. So great. So it opens up a lot more options.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had that in November time, you said.
Yes. And it was pretty easy. It really was a lot quicker than I thought it would be.
Okay. So, when you had your appointment in November, when did you get the approval? Because it's always a big question that everyone has. How long is it going to take? I just sit there and I wait and I don't know what's happening. So how was that?
Yes. So the approval came right around the middle of January for us.
Okay.
So it was slightly more than 2 months.
Which isn't bad because it's around holiday season as well, right?
Right.
Less people are working. You've got the holidays in Portugal that come at the beginning of December anyway. And then of course, Christmas,
Right.
New Year's. And so that's not bad. 2.5 months. Okay. So were you ecstatic when you got the approval?
Yes. I almost couldn't believe it when I saw they sent an email with the approval in it, and I just remember I felt like my heart kind of stopped for a second, and I was just staring at it like, oh, it's here.
Okay. Actually, that's a good idea. Like, let's go ahead and talk about that process since you just went through it in November. What documents did you take to the appointment, or any advice that you have for someone who's getting ready to go to one of those appointments?
Yes. So this is with us. We came over with teenagers. So getting apostilled birth certificates is a really important thing for minors. Travel documents are really important, terms of responsibility. So they were asking for all of those things. We did work with a consultant, so it made it easier. And she just kind of helped us through the whole process and, let us know what all we needed to have, which made it, I feel like I would have lost my mind trying to do all of it on my own. But yeah, those things are really important to get early on, because there have been, I guess, some delays with getting some of the apostille documents back. So that was really important. And they had just changed the requirement for the FBI background checks at that point.
Yeah.
It was, I think, it was exactly 11 days before our appointment. They had changed it over. They had a COVID time rule where you could bring in your sealed FBI your background check, and they would accept that as long as the envelope wasn't open. And so they changed that 11 days before we went to where it had to be apostilled by the Secretary of State, but like in DC. So we were really panicking at that point. And we went to, I think the name of the company was Monument Visa. And I basically begged them. I was like, can you do this and pick it up and overnight it to me? And they did, but we were already in Houston. So the 10th day plus the overnight was the day that we landed in Houston. So what we did, and I highly recommend this if anybody ever has an issue like this was so cool. I did not know that you could receive mail at a UPS store. And what we did was they picked it up. They took it directly to the UPS store. They overnighted it to the Houston UPS store. And while we were sitting there waiting for our appointment, I didn't have it yet. And they called me and said, it's here. So I asked our agent at VFS. I showed him the text message, and I'm like, can I run really quickly? Because there's a UPS store right around the corner from VFS. And so he kind of chuckled, and he's like, go, hurry. And so I was running through the building and around the street trying to pick up the apostille documents to bring back so that they could get them. And we got them like literally right in the nick of time.
Oh my gosh. I would be so sweaty and stressed. I'm not gonna, I sweat anyway, but I'm like, even when I'm like stressed is like even more sweat. So I'd be but I mean, I think that, yeah, those appointments can just be really stressful, and, the unknown and stuff like this, where it's like time sensitive things. And of course changes. That's the other thing. It's ever changing. So if you have to stay on it, you have to make sure you know what's different. Mm-hmm. And that's so unfortunate that it happened like 11 days before, because I do know some people who got caught on this, but they were letting them slide still. It was almost like they were grandfathering some of them in. If you already had your appointment, you already had that. But by the time we hit 2025 at the beginning of this year, that was it. They were done doing that. Yeah. So it's like, and that's another thing that I think people have to be careful of when you research online and you're looking at things. You're going to find some information that says, oh, you can do it this way, but you got to make sure it's updated because it's changing. So one of the big things is, you do have to get your FBI background check apostilled now. Just good to know. But you made it. Woohoo, you made it. And then, I mean, paperwork must have looked good for it only being, 2.5 months or so, because then you get the approval in January. And then had you bought your plane tickets yet, or you were waiting for the approval and then you bought right away, or what was that like?
Yeah, we were waiting for the approval because I didn't want to get into a situation where they might have more questions, especially since we had teens. Because I know sometimes, depending, it can take longer when you have children. So we really wanted to wait and get the tickets once we got everything back. But yeah, when we worked with the consultant that we had, that was really nice, because the night before the appointment, she went through, her name's Heather, and Heather went through with us on a video chat, and we made sure each packet was laid out, like I can't remember what they call it, but the document that they have that tells you everything you need, so that everything was laid out the way it needed to be, in order, and then it was just handing it over, and then they flipped through it and made sure everything was in there.
Okay, great. So then you buy your tickets, you get here, you already have the restaurant. Was the restaurant ready to go yet, like at the beginning of the year, or not yet? You
No,
had, okay, so you had
no,
stuff you had to do.
it had the equipment in it, and it had some tables and chairs and things like that. So a lot of the stuff it already had, but we wanted to have more seating, and some of the equipment wasn't working, and so we didn't know that until we could finally get the electric and the gas and everything onto it to get everything running.
How long did all that take you?
That actually took about a month and a half. Um, and it's really interesting because some of the things that took the longest were the things that I thought would be the shortest.
Okay.
So, like, one of the biggest hurdles for us, oddly enough, was getting the water on. Like, we had a lot of back and forth about trying to get the water turned on. So, that was like part of the longest process for us. And getting those documents that date all the way back to the space and when it was created and going to the archives. So,
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about Lydia and how you like it and maybe things you do or don't like since you were actually, had family in Viana do Castelo and you didn't end up there, but you ended up here in Lydia. So how is it? How are you liking it?
So I like it pretty well. There are tons of things to do here. There's a lot of shopping. So if you're into shopping, there's a huge mall that's brand new, and they really know how to do fairs and festivals here. They're like right now they're having a fair that goes for an entire month. And they also do like, I have not personally witnessed this yet, but I've seen pictures. Their Christmas markets are really great here. So they do a lot of things really well. And I decided to enroll my teens in public school. So the public school here has been absolutely amazing. They have been wonderful to work with. They have really encouraged my kids to kind of, make friends and start learning the language. It's been really, really wonderful. So I can't say enough good things about that. And there are a few things that that I'm not the craziest about. I find that sometimes I feel like people are maybe not quite as friendly here as they are in Viana do Castelo. I think it's and I've heard it's like a regional thing. So, like in Viana, if you go in somewhere, everybody, "Ay, bom dia," and they greet you. Here, it's not quite the same. Like it's almost a little more, I guess, Lisbon like where it's a bigger city, and it just kind of comes along with being a little bit bigger city, I think.
Okay. All right. So that's something. Yeah. I feel like Portuguese people in general are quite nice, but in the north,
Yes.
it's even they're a lot nicer. So even in Porto, we get that a lot more of the greetings and everything. But I think it is, like you said, it's more regional.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people are super nice. Like once they start talking, there's nothing bad. It's more of everybody's kind of busy and doing their own thing. I guess it's not quite as laid back here as it is in some of the other places in up north.
Okay, that's good to know. And you said you don't have a car, so you don't need a car there.
No, and we would eventually maybe like to get one, but we knew we weren't going to get one for a while. And we wanted someplace where it was very walkable. And so the bus system is great and really interconnected here. So that has not been a problem at all. So what's not walkable is super accessible by bus and Bolt. So kind of like the Uber. Yeah. So like the Bolt rides are also, you can get pretty much anywhere in town for less than €4, like if you really need to. So that's really nice too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And are you within walking distance to the restaurant, or do you have to take a Bolt or a bus?
No, I actually live so the restaurant's here and the building I live in is right here. So they share a corner.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's why we were like, oh, this is too good of an opportunity to pass up, because the apartment, we saw the restaurant and then we were kind of deciding. And then we had a realtor friend of ours call us and go, "You will never believe this apartment that just came up," because we needed a T4. And there was a T4 that came up in our price range, literally like butted up against the building that the restaurant was in. So my commute in the morning is literally like 30 seconds.
Nice. Yeah. Roll out of bed, right outside. And there
Right.
Oh, that's really good. I thought you were going to say, oh, no, we're so far away from it. And so I'm like, oh, well, then you live at the restaurant. But no, you kind of do, but it's literally right next door. So that's good.
Right.
And so how's the apartment? A T4? That seems like, it would be kind of tricky to find a big space.
Yeah, it's an older apartment, but I actually don't mind it at all. It gets a really nice breeze, so we just kind of open the windows and the breeze comes through. The one thing that I am getting used to is that people don't, at least around here, no one uses clothes dryers. So, because they're really expensive to run, and getting used to the laundry situation with, our household being what it is, and like making sure the laundry is like between rain, getting it hung up so that it gets dry.
And it's like 24/7. I'm sure you're always doing laundry with 4, right?
Yeah. So it was, but it's not bad. So I really can't complain. We got really lucky with that.
Yeah. Any issues with mold?
No, surprisingly, our apartment's really dry. And when I came to see it, that was one of the things that I was like, I can deal with older if it's dry. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with it because, we haven't had mildew, we haven't had mold, we haven't seen any of that. And it doesn't smell damp, which is great.
Yeah, that's good, because that's definitely a concern of a lot of people, like obviously a very valid concern that you don't want to have that, behind the walls or anything. And how has the weather been since you've moved?
It's been very rainy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's surprisingly rainy, and I've been told that it's quite unusual for this area, but for the last week or so, it's actually been really nice. I think now that we're getting into summer and getting away from rainy season in the winter, I think we're getting better weather, but it's been very mild. In fact, I was walking around last night with a jacket on. So very, very mild climate, really nice.
Okay. So if you didn't have the restaurant, do you think you would have landed there, or you would have chosen another place?
I probably would have chosen somewhere up north, to be honest. We were really deciding between Porto and Viana at first. And we probably would have ended up somewhere up north. Not that the central part is bad. It's great. It's all beautiful. It's a wonderful country with great people. So it really doesn't matter where you end up. But yeah, we probably would have chosen somewhere up north.
Okay. But everything seemed to work out, right? No regrets?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So what's your vision then for the restaurant? It's only been a couple months it's been open. Like, what are you hoping to achieve within this next year with the restaurant?
Yeah, so we really want to expand. The space we have right now is really small, and I wanted something small in the beginning. I didn't want to try to run something that was really big and cumbersome and needed a lot of staff. So it's just us. And I wanted something that I could go, okay, if this works really well, let's look at getting a bigger space. And then if it doesn't, it would kind of be like, oh, that was a fun run. Great stories for the future, let's pack it in. So we're doing pretty well. We had our Saturday business has been surprisingly busy. And we've had at some points like people waiting at the door and all of our tables full. So that's been great. So we're kind of hoping that, over the next year we can maybe get a little bit bigger space and expand a little bit.
Do the kids help out, or they're no way, I don't want to be involved?
No, they do. We try to only have them in on the weekends or sometime when it's not conflicting with their school schedule. Sure. Just so that they can be kids. But yeah, they come in and they help. My daughter makes a killer guacamole, and everybody loves Bella's guacamole. So yeah, she's my guac girl on the weekends.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I can't wait to visit. Because good Mexican is really hard to find, in Portugal and Europe, a lot of places. So when you said that, I was like, wow, Mexican place. All right, well, I know where we're going from Mexican. It's a bit of a commute for us, but
yes.
but we will go visit.
And we have people that come in specifically for our chimichangas. Like the people that come in have driven over an hour, have been to get chimichangas because they've not had them anywhere in Portugal. So we would definitely love to have you in.
Yes, we will. So what is your best seller?
The chimichanga.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because you can't really find that anywhere, like a good one. I mean, really,
No.
all the Mexican around us, especially, is a bit more like Tex-Mex, or it's elevated. You know, like elevated Mexican. It's like,
Right.
oh, that just sounds wrong to do elevated Mexican. You just want that good, normal Mexican food, and it is hard to find.
It is hard to find, and that was our goal. It was a lot of what took us the most time was trying to find vendors that we wanted to use local as much as possible, but some of the things it's just impossible to do. So we ended up finding someone who has a chili pepper farm, and
Okay.
they actually do like imports of spices and stuff like that too. So it was kind of fun because we could get what we needed but still stay fairly local. So we try our best to use other local businesses and that sort of thing. So, and it's been a lot of fun. Like recreating the stuff to try to get it to taste like it does back home has been fun. And we make pretty much everything from scratch because you can't find it here. So
Yeah. How did you find places like the chili farm? Like just word of mouth, or the organization you
Yes.
talked about, or?
Yes, word of mouth.
Okay.
It was basically me with some of the other expats in the area from Texas, and they were like, "Ooh, have you heard of this guy? Like, you need to go talk to them." So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. The Texans will know. I'm sure they're really excited that they've got a restaurant now to go to.
Right. Yeah, I feel like most of our customers have been from Texas or California recently. So
Okay. Any ingredients that or what are some of the ingredients that have been really difficult to find?
jalapenos. That has been extremely difficult. And the ones that we have found that are like the pickled jalapenos are really not. They're just kind of in some vinegar. It's not quite the same. That has been really hard. And chili powder is almost impossible to find. So we have to get that. We have to order that specially. And we had a really hard time finding good tortillas because a lot of them that we would get were dry. We tried getting some imported from Mexico at one point, and they did not work out well. They were like stuck together, and so it was just really hard. So we ended up finding a place in Sintra.
Okay.
They import their flour from Mexico and they make them fresh once a week. So now we're getting weekly deliveries from them, which has been great.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So you mentioned Texans and Californians. I don't, Californians. What's the expat scene like there?
So there are actually a surprising amount of expats here. We had a women's group in, I think, last week. And there were around 25 expat ladies. And we have a men's group coming in tomorrow with, I think, around 15. So there are several families that are living here. And it was also nice because there's also several expat families in the public school system. So when we were enrolling kids and doing all that, it made it nice because we could talk to them and, So, yeah, they've been definitely a lot of support throughout this whole process.
How did you get plugged into this community?
Actually, through our real estate agent. So, when we came to see the apartment, he's actually, I think, originally from Porto, and he lives here now. And he goes, "Hey, do you know so and so?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, but she's from America." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And he's like, "Actually, I think she's part of a ladies group. So let's set up a coffee." And he set up a coffee and I met her. And then she introduced me into a ladies group here with I think it has a couple of hundred ladies in it. Mostly from the United States, but also like South Africa and some other countries. And so that's how I have really learned a lot of what I've learned is just by getting plugged into that group.
Yeah, that's great. So just getting out there and talking to people about it and being willing to meet up with, oh, okay, they're from the US or they're, at least an English speaker, which was a little more
Right.
comfortable, and just being able to go for it. Yeah. Any like Facebook groups or WhatsApp groups that exist that people, so those who want to move can at least get plugged in the community?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there is it's called Lydia Expats, I believe.
Okay.
It's a decently sized group, and it's nice because it's not just about expat stuff, but also goings on in the community to kind of keep up. So they'll, talk about fairs or festivals or things going on at the theater and all of that. There's also, and the name is escaping me right now, there's actually a theater group of people that are like around my age, and they started like an English speaking theater troupe, which is really cool. They have a Facebook page as well. So yeah, there's some social media sites that are pretty good.
Okay, great. Well, at Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms lives. So how has living abroad transformed your life?
Wow, it's kind of amazing, honestly. Like, I just noticed that the pace is so much slower, and I have to kind of step back sometimes and go, oh, I don't need to be moving this fast. Like, it's okay to take a minute and really enjoy. And that's kind of the fun thing. We just had coffee with some friends about a week ago, and they drink their coffee and they talk for 2 hours. And, so it's really nice. And it's, a much slower pace of life. And it's, I don't want to say it's stress-free, but it's a different kind of stress than, how things are. I feel like in the US, like culture-wise, like you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to move to the next thing and you always have to stay busy. So that has really helped. And it's also been nice because I've noticed that since we've been here, especially as a family, we spend a lot more time talking to each other and going for walks and like seeing, we have the view of a castle from our dining room window, so going to the castle or just doing a lot of things that maybe we wouldn't have taken the time for in the United States. So it's been really nice to just kind of reconnect with the kids and with each other and, work on the business and just really like focus on the family.
That's so great. Well, thank you, Kelly, and all the best with the restaurant. And you will see us down there for sure at some point.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to it.